Okay, student, good morning. Today we are going to discuss chapter 9, share variation. So we just finished the discussion on bond variation. Now we are going to discuss share variation. So you can see the two topics are related. Right? So for me, I will consider bond variation, chapter 8, share variation, chapter 9. Project variation chapter 10 together. All right. So for me, variation is the present value today. And present value is a function of cash flows and required return. Think about the timeline, all right? R is a required return. And required return will depend on risk. Higher risk, higher required return. When we do the bond variation, I know I have the cash flows, coupon every period, and par payment on the maturity date. Required return is the risk of the bond. For bond, we have bond rating, right? AAA or AA, and so on. Right. Now we are going to discuss share variation. For share, the cash flow of share are dividend. Right? Dividends are not a constant. So share variation will be more difficult. Required return of the share. Right? We don't have share rating. We have bond rating, but no share rating in the market. So to calculate the required return, we need to use the model, KP model. Right? So KP model we learned in chapter 7. Right? We will discuss the detail about a dividend, right? Non-constant dividend, and how to use the KP model to calculate the required return of the share. All right. In this chapter, we have 6 topics. Today, I hope I can cover the first 4 topics. All right. The first topic is introduction to stock market. For me, is a review of chapter 3. All right. Let's go through the topic fast. Right. So it's a review of our chapter 3. So for me, equity security, that is stock or share, are certificate of ownership of the company. All right. So equity investor, they are the owner of the company. They have a right to vote, so they can decide the CEO of the company. Equity are the most visible security on the financial landscape. Right? So people talk about the stock market. My GP know I'm a finance lecturer on the campus, and he will discuss the stock market with me. Right? So every people talk about the stock market, but I hope a student they can have more understanding about stock market after the chapter. All right, you will understand more about stock market. So most people believe that performance of the share market is an important indicator of the country's economic health, right? So because the stock market is forward-looking, right? So stock market not only reflect information in the past, at current, and the future. So stock market will be an indicator of the country's economic health, all right? The next slide, the market for share. So we have 2 markets for share. One, primary market. Second, secondary market. So when I say a primary market, so companies sell new share to investor to raise money. Secondary market, outstanding share are bought and sold among investors. All right. So in the secondary market, company will not receive money from secondary market. However, the presence of a secondary market does affect the issuer, that the company directly. Right? I hope you remember this image, right? So primary market, so company issue new share to the investor. Investor provide the money to the company, right? This is a primary market. After primary market, the share will go to the secondary market. So you can see secondary market is a transaction between investor. We have buyer and the seller. So company will not receive the money from the secondary market. But it doesn't mean company will not care about the secondary market. They do care about secondary market. If the share price in the secondary market is too low, they will buy back the share. All right? So news and the media. So you can see the information about share market on news and the media. So they are primary market or secondary market? The answer is secondary market. All right. So on the news and the media, you see the information about share market is the secondary market of the share. Right. Next slide. So secondary market and their efficiency. So here we highlight the exchange. So secondary market of share is exchange trading. So when I think about exchange, that means exchange will bring all the buyer and the seller together. So exchange is a place to bring all the buyer and the seller together. So like exchange between seller and the buyer. Right? So exchange is very important. Exchange can help competition. So all the buyer and the seller together, many buyer and the seller together. So the market will be efficient. Please refer to our chapter 3 about market efficiency. Right. So market efficient. So market are efficient when the current market prices of security trade reflect all available information. So all information that means past, current, and the future. All right. So make a comparison with the primary market. So primary market means the transaction between issuer and the investor, right? Primary market of the share. The company issue new share to the investor, all right? This is an OTC market. So OTC over to counter. So issuer and the investor, they make a transaction directly. No exchange between them. You can see the problem, the default risk. So OTC trading will involve default risk. The idea is simple. This is zero-sum game. One party's gain will be the loss of the other party. So they will involve default risk. So exchange trading can reduce the default risk because you can see we have exchange between seller and buyer, right? Next slide, the market for share, reading the share market listing. So the financial news sources, for example, Yahoo Finance, provide share listing for New Zealand exchange and the exchange as well as other security market information. So it's not difficult to find the market information for share. Again, I want to highlight the market is secondary market, right? Secondary market for share. So here I just pick out one example. Yahoo Finance, I type Apple, then you can find the share information of Apple. So here I like to address the prices. We have two prices, bid and ask. So for me, this is my way to remember bid and ask. So bid and ask. In the market, if I'm an investor, when I buy, I need to pay a higher price. On the other hand, when I sell the share, I receive a lower price. So the difference between them is the profit to dealer. All right. So you can see as a higher price beat a lower price. The difference between them is a profit to dealer. Right. The second variable I want to point out is beta. All right. So we can find a beta. Beta is the systematic risk of the share, which referred to our chapter 7. And we can use the beta to apply our KPM model. Therefore, we have the required return of the share. So in the KPM model, required return of the share is RF, risk-free rate, plus beta times market return minus RF. This is market risk premium. All right. All right, we finished the first topic, introduction to the stock market. So again, let me highlight a few key concepts for you. So first, I know stock market, we have two markets, primary market and secondary market, right? So exchange trading versus OTC trading. So secondary market is exchange trading. So we have exchange between buyer and the seller. It's good. Exchange can increase market efficiency and reduce the default risk. On the other hand, OTC trading, no exchange between buyer and the seller. So in our primary market, this is OTC trading. The IPO, initial public offering, is OTC trading. Then I understand the difference between bid price and S price. Right. Okay, now we are going to discuss our second topic, bonds and the stock, differences and similarity. All right, so now we are learning stock, but we want to make a comparison between bond and the stock. Right, so let's follow our slide. So it's not difficult, but they are important, right? So differences. A bond has a coupon payment and a lump sum payment. And stock has dividend payment forever. So this is the first difference. Second difference. Coupon payment are fixed. Stock dividend change or growth over time. This is the second difference. So we use the timeline to show you these two differences. All right, so this timeline is for bond. So bond investor will receive coupon C1, C2, C3 to C5, and the bond has a maturity date, right? For example, year 5, and the bond has a lump sum payment at the end. On the maturity date. So this for bond, right? Now we discuss stock. Stock will provide us dividend, D1, D2, D3, but dividend are not a constant, right? And the stock never end. That means the stock has no maturity date. So you can see the notation. This is forever. Dividend forever, right? And the stock has no lump sum payment, right? So this is the timeline for stock. Okay, although this topic is not difficult, however, for me, it's very important. I hope students, you may understand bond and the stock differences and the similarity. So similarity is easy. I mean, both of them will bring us cash flow in the future. This is a similarity. So our focus will be differences between them. So the first conclusion is stock variation is more difficult than bond variation because cash flow are uncertain, right? Dividends are not a constant. Second, required rate of return is unobservable. Right? We have bond rating, but we don't have share rating in the market. Right? Third, the life is infinite. That means the stock has no maturity date, right? Or you can say it's forever, right? Never end. So this is why bond stock variation is more difficult than bond variation. Now we are going to discuss another topic, preferred stock. So again, this is a review of our chapter 3. So in addition to bond, stock, we have preferred stock. It's like a between bond and the stock or common stock. Right. So let's go follow our PowerPoint slide. So ordinary and preference share. Right? Or ordinary share is a common stock, preference share or preferred stock. All right. So ordinary share represent the basic ownership plan in a company. Right? Owner of ordinary share are not guaranteed any dividend payment and have the lowest priority claim on the company asset in the event of insolvency. Right? So no guaranteed dividend payment because dividend is not an obligation to the company. All right. If the company make money, the company pay dividend. If not, they can decide not to pay the dividend. Lowest priority. That means when the company go bankrupt, stock investor, they have the lowest priority to claim the company asset. Right. So that means when the company go bankrupt, the company need to pay bond investor first, all right? Then stock investor. So preference share. Now we consider preference share. Preference share are legally a form of equity. So legally, preference share are similar to ordinary share, right? And the preference share are generally viewed as a perpetuity because they have no maturity. All right. So here we show you preference share have some character like ordinary share. First, legally, right, is equity, a form of equity, and preference share might have no maturity. Right. Now we like to address the differences between preference share and ordinary share. So preference share have many characters unlike ordinary share. Right? So we are going through these differences. All right. First, preference share owner, they have no voting right. So ordinary share investor or ordinary shareholder, they have voting right. But preference share holder, no voting right. Right. Second, preference shareholder receive a fixed dividend, right? So, and they will receive a stay value like a par on the maturity date. So here we just want to let you know, preference share have many characters like a bond. So bondholder, they don't have voting right, and the bondholder have a fixed payment. Preference shareholder, they also have a fixed dividend payment. And on the maturity day, preference shareholder will receive a par payment, a par value payment, like a bond. All right. Next slide. Preference share often have credit rating. So again, it's like a bond. So preference share have credit rating. Mostly, preference share are sometimes convertible into ordinary share. Again, like a bond. So bond, we have convertible bond. That means bondholder can convert their bond to ordinary share. Similarly, preference share, they have the option, to convert their share, preference share to ordinary share. Finally, most preference share issues are not true perpetuity. That means preference share has a maturity date, like a bond. All right. So overall, many investors consider preference share to be a special type of bond or debt rather than equity. All right. So I like to use a table to review or to summarize all our discussion. All right. So I would suggest we use a table to summarize the result, and you can remember or understand the result in an easy way. So here we consider three financial assets: bond, preference share, and ordinary share. So for me, bond and ordinary share, like two sides, right? And preference share will lie between them. All right. Here we consider voting right, fixed payment, credit rating, convertible, finally maturity date. Right. Let's review our bond. Bond, no voting right. Ordinary share, yes, voting right. Fixed payment, bond, yes, fixed payment. Ordinary share, no, payment is not fixed. Credit rating, bond, yes, we have credit rating. Ordinary share, no, no credit rating. Convertible, bond is convertible to share, yes. Ordinary share, no. Maturity, bond has a maturity date. Ordinary share has no maturity date. Right. Now we consider preference share. You can see preference share will be like a bond. Right. No voting right, fixed payment, credit rating, convertible, and no maturity date. Sorry, has a maturity date. Has a maturity date. So you can see overall, investor will consider preference share to be a bond rather than the equity. Right? Okay, so I hope you can remember our discussion. I think this table can help you understand. Remember the result. So we finished the discussion on this topic. So again, let's review the key concept. So in this topic, we discussed preferred stock or preference share. So preference share is bond or a stock. So this is our conclusion. Preferred stock represents equity. It's a form of equity, but has many features or many characters of debt or the bond, including here, right? A stay year, that means the payment is fixed, right? A limited life, that means has a maturity date and has a public credit rating. And preference in terms of cash flow and liquidation. I mean, preference before the stock. So when the company go bankrupt, they need to pay bond investor first, then preferred stock investor, finally common stock investor. So normally common stock investor will receive nothing. All right. Finally, some issues are callable or convertible into the common share. So like our bond, right? So overall, investor will consider preferred stock or preference share as a bond rather than a stock. Okay, so this is the final topic for today's lecture. So it's on the key topic for this chapter, valuation. So we are going to discuss the valuation of common stock or ordinary share. We are going to discuss the model, dividend growth model or DGM model, right? Dividend growth model. So let me show you my slide. So when we do the valuation, I know we have three steps. So let me present the 3 steps to you. So there are 3 steps in valuing an asset. First, estimate the future cash flows. I like to highlight cash flows. That means we have multiple cash flows. Right? Second, determine the required rate of return. Required rate of return is the discount rate. Discount rate depends on the riskiness of the future cash flow. After we have cash flow and the required rate of return, finally, we calculate the present value of the future cash flow to determine what the asset is worth today. All right, so there are the 3 steps in valuation. Not only for stock, in bond, in project, we also use the 3-step process. Right? Step 1, estimate the future cash flow. Step 2, determine the required rate of return. Step 3, calculate the present value. Right? So now we do the ordinary share valuation. So this is our first example, 1 period model. Okay, so again, timeline. Today, T0, we buy the share. At year 1, we receive dividend, $8, and we sell the share to receive $100. Right? We just hold the stock for 1 year. And our required return is 20%. All right. So you can see the 3-step process. First, estimate the cash flow. Right? We estimate dividend is $8, and the price at year 1, $100. Step 1. Step 2, determine the required rate of return, 20%. We give you the value directly, but you know, in practice, we can use the capital model to determine the required rate of return, right? This is our second step. Final step, calculate the present value. So the present value of the share is the present value of the dividend plus present value of the sale price. That means the price at year 1. So $8, $100, we use the discount rate 20% or 0.2 to bring them today. Finally, added up, right? And this is our result. So I think this should be not a problem if you understand the bond valuation, right? So draw the timeline, estimate the cash flow, determine the required rate of return, finally calculate the present value. So next slide, we consider a 2-period model, right? From 1 period to 2 period. Now we buy the stock and hold the stock for 2 years. So D1, dividend at year 1, $2. D2, dividend at year 2, $2.1. And if our price at year 2, P2 is here, then again, we bring all the cash flow to today using the discount rate, required rate of return, right? Finally, adding up, this is the share price today, or P0. Okay. So now we consider a general model or general case, T-period model. So now we consider year 1, year 2 to year T. All right. Then we have this result, the T-period model. Finally, we consider the infinite period. So infinite means forever. So please remember, stock has no maturity date. So if you buy and hold the stock forever, you have dividends forever. but the idea is the same. Bring all the dividend to today, right? That means calculate the present value of dividends. Finally, adding up. Right. We can use this notation. This notation is summation, right? That means we add the present value of dividend from year 1 to year forever. All right. So P0 is current price. DT is dividend received in period T. R is required return on ordinary share or discount rate. So I hope this formula should not be a problem to our student. Right? So when I see the formula, I remember the timeline behind the formula. All right. Now we are going to discuss two special cases. All right, two special cases. The first special case is zero growth dividend model. So zero growth, that means the dividend is a constant. So the dividend payment pattern remains constant over time. So D1 is equal to D2, D3 to D forever. Dividend is a constant. In this case, our general dividend discount model will become a perpetuity. So dividend is a constant forever, like a perpetuity. And this is our result. Share price today is dividend divided by R, required return. All right, so this is the first special case, right? Zero growth. But you know, dividend will change. It should not be a constant. So we don't pay too much attention on this special case. So now we are considering the second special case, constant growth. So we have dividend, and the dividend has a constant growth. So identifying and applying the constant growth dividend model is very straightforward. And we have the general formula for the dividend value over time is as follows. So our dividend has a G. G is a constant growth rate for dividend. DT is dividend payment in period T. D0 is dividend payment in period 0, right, or today. I like to use a timeline to show you what is a constant growth dividend model. So this is the idea of the constant growth. So we have dividend every year, right? D0, D1, D2, D3 forever. But dividend will change, but their growth rate is a constant. So from D0 to D1, dividend growth rate is G. D1 to D2, again, dividend growth rate is G, right? So this is the process. D1 is D0 times 1 plus G with power of 1. Right? So D2 is D1 times 1 plus G with power of 1. If we use D0, that means the D0 times 1 plus G with power of 2. Right? You can repeat the process so you can find the rule. So D3 will be D0 times 1 plus G with power of 3. All right, that means D3. So you can see the growth rate, G, year 1, growth rate, year 2, growth rate, year 3. So we have 1 plus G with power of 3. All right. So you can see in this model or this special case, our dividend growth rate is a constant. So we have constant growth dividend model. So next slide, we show you the result. So if we have the formula, this is our general formula, right? Dividend D1, D2, D3 to D forever. And we assume the dividend growth rate is a constant, is a G. Right? So let me show you my handwritten note here. In our general dividend model, our D1, D2, D3 will have a constant dividend growth rate. Then we have a spatial series. This spatial series is geometric series. Please don't ask me what is a geometric series. I believe our students should know that. I learned the geometric series in high school. Right? So we don't need to spend too much time. And what I remember is here. This is a spatial series, a geometric series, and we have a common ratio. The common ratio is 1 plus G over 1 plus R. Right? And our initial term, the first term, is D1 over 1 plus R. Then we have the result of the geometric series. This is our result. Initial term divided by 1 minus common ratio. All right? And then we can do the calculation ourselves. This is final result. P0 will be equal to D1 over R minus G. Right? I hope students can remember this result. Normally, I don't ask students to remember something because it's not easy, right? But I hope students can remember the result. The process, we show you the process, but I don't show you the detail, right? Because I don't want to spend time on the geometric series, all right? Because our dividend, the growth rate of our dividend is a constant. So we have a geometric series and the common ratio, initial term. Finally, we have the result, right? So let's go through this result. So in general, the price of a share can be expressed in terms of dividend in the next period. That means D1, G, and R, when the dividends are expected to grow at a constant rate. All right. So this is a special case. We expect dividend to grow at a constant rate. So share price will depend on D1, R, and G. Right. I hope students can remember the result. I try my best to explain the detail, but I don't show you the detailed calculation. All right. I hope student is okay with the final result. Right. So constant growth model, P0 is D1 over R minus G. So if you are okay with the result, we give you the 2 examples to apply this model. So this is our example 1, DGM example 1. So we have company just pay a dividend. That means the dividend is D0, $0.5. And it's expected to increase its dividend by 2% per year. The market requires a return of 15% on the asset, on the stock, for the risk. How much should the stock be selling for today? So we have dividend, we have dividend growth rate, and require return. Then we are able to apply our DGM model. So let me show you the answer. This is our DGM model. P0 is D1 over R minus G. I hope students remember the formula, all right? D1 over minus G. But in this example, we have D0. The company just paid the dividend. This is D0. D1 is D0 times 1 plus G, right? So D0, $0.5. G, 2%. R, required return, 0.15 or 15%, right? So we apply the model. The P0 is here, okay? One more example, example 2. Right, again, another company, the dividend, $2. The company will pay $2 dividend in 1 year. That means $2 is D1, right? In this example, D1. Dividend is expected to grow at 5% per year. So 5% is our G variable. Required return 20%. This is our R variable. What is the price of the share? The share price. So again, we apply our DGM model. P0 is D1 over R minus G. D1, $2. Required return, 20%. Dividend growth rate, 5%. So altogether, this is our share price. 8. So we have one more slide to summarize our discussion. 4 fundamental rules of the stock prices by the DGM. So I just copy the formula here, and I know required return by KPI model is here. So we have 2 fundamental rules. 1, the larger dividend growth rate, higher price. So G is here. Higher dividend growth rate, higher dividend growth rate. So minus G, higher G, lower, this is numerator over denominator. So higher G, lower R minus G, and higher P0, right? Second rule, the larger proportion of earnings paid out as dividend, higher price. So this is about D1. When D1 go up, P0 will go up. The second rule. Less risky of the company stock, the higher price. So company risk is beta. Higher beta, higher required return. Higher required return, lower share price. All right, this is the third rule. 4, lower level of interest rate, higher share price. So interest rate is here, RF, risk-free rate. Higher RF, higher required return. Higher required return, lower share price, right? Okay, so we can use the 2 formula to have the 4 fundamental rules. Finally, I have one question for you. So in our DGM model, we need dividend. But you know, in practice, some companies do not pay dividend, right? So for example, the company is a growing company. They will keep money inside the company to do the reinvestment. So how can we value the stock, right? This is a limitation of our DGM model. So if you are interested in the issue, we have 300 level paper, finance, right? Finance 302, other share variation models. We have several variation models for share, right? Okay, we finished the lecture today. One more thing before we go, attendance recording. So give me a minute, I show you the QR code. Okay, student, the QR code is ready for you. Online student, I hope you can see the QR code on your screen. Okay, see you on Friday.